Imagine a sandwich where the filling is toast, just toast, between two slices of bread, straight from the most respected cookbook in British history. Everything on this list sounds like a joke, a dare, or something invented by a bored child. Yet every single one sat on ordinary British tables without a second thought. Number 8 looks like something the cat brought up, and Britain bought it by the million. Number 2 will make you question everything. Hit subscribe, because number 1 was scientifically defended in 2011. Let's count them down. Number 25. Salad cream sandwiches. Not salad cream on a salad. Salad cream as the entire filling. 2 slices of white bread, a thick layer of that tangy yellow paste pressed together and packed into a lunchbox. Heinz launched salad cream in 1914, and by the 1950s it was the workhorse of the British larder, costing about 10 pence a bottle and lasting weeks. When money ran short at the end of the week, a salad cream sandwich was tea. The vinegar sharpness against soft white bread was oddly satisfying, and children genuinely asked for them. Some families upgraded with a slice of tomato or a leaf of lettuce, but plenty did not bother. Try explaining to anyone under 30 that a condiment sandwich was completely unremarkable. Yet in 1999, when Heinz threatened to discontinue salad cream, the national outcry was so fierce they backed down within weeks. Britain does not forget its strange loves. Number 24. Camp coffee. A coffee that was barely coffee at all. That tall, square bottle with the Gordon Highlander on the label contained mostly water, sugar and chicory essence, with just 4% actual coffee. Invented in Glasgow in 1876, it was still the standard way to make coffee in most British homes well into the 1970s. Your mum would pour a spoonful of the thick brown syrup into hot milk, stir, and serve it as coffee without a hint of irony. A bottle cost about 1 shilling and sixpence and lasted months because you needed so little. The flavour was sweet, malty, and nothing like espresso. But before instant coffee conquered the shelves, this was what coffee meant to millions of Britons. It survives today mainly as a baking ingredient for coffee and walnut cake, where, honestly, nothing else works quite as well. The fake coffee outlived the trend that mocked it. Number 23. Banana and sugar sandwiches. Mash a ripe banana onto buttered white bread, sprinkle granulated sugar over the top, press down the second slice, and cut into triangles. That was a Sunday tea time treat, not a punishment. After the war, when bananas returned to Britain in 1945, after 6 years of absence, children who had never seen one had to be shown how to peel it. The fruit became a celebration in itself. At around 9p a pound in the mid-50s, bananas were affordable enough for a weekly treat, but special enough to feel like one. The sugar crunched against the soft fruit and softer bread, and no one questioned whether fruit belonged in a sandwich. Some families used condensed milk instead of butter, doubling down on the sweetness. Nutritionists today would faint. Children of the 50s would tell them to mind their own business and pass the loaf. Number 22. Tinned spaghetti on toast, carbohydrate on carbohydrate, served with pride. Heinz introduced tinned spaghetti in sweetened tomato sauce to Britain in 1926, and by the 60s it was a fixture of children's tea, Saturday lunches, and student survival. The spaghetti itself was soft, cut short, and swimming in a sauce that tasted nothing like anything Italian, which was entirely the point. Poured hot over buttered toast, sometimes with a handful of grated cheddar melting on top, it was a complete meal in 4 minutes for about a shilling. Italians visiting Britain were reportedly horrified. Britain did not care. The dish even had posh variations, with spaghetti on toast appearing in genteel tea rooms as a light luncheon in the 30s. Pasta served on bread sounds like something a toddler would invent, but for generations of British families, it was simply Tuesday. Number 21. Fish paste sandwiches. Inside those tiny glass jars with the twist-off lids sat a smooth greyish-pink paste made from mashed fish, and it filled 1 million lunchboxes a week. Shippums of Chichester had been potting fish paste since 1786, and by the 1950s their little jars of salmon, sardine, crab and the mysterious bloater paste cost around 6p each. Your nan would scrape the paste thinly across buttered bread because a jar that small had to stretch across a whole family. The smell was strong, the colour was frankly alarming, and the texture was somewhere between pâté and putty. Yet fish paste sandwiches were the backbone of every church fete, every funeral tea, every train journey. Bloater paste, made from cold, smoked whole herring, sounds like an insult rather than a food. It was on the table every week, and children ate it without blinking. Number 20. Powdered egg. An egg with no shell, no yolk, no white, just a tin of yellow dust. Dried egg arrived from America during the war, when the ration allowed 1 fresh egg per adult per week, and 1 tin equaled a dozen eggs. Housewives learned to reconstitute it with water and turn it into scrambled eggs, omelettes and cakes. Here is the part nobody expects. Powdered egg did not vanish when rationing ended in 1954. Plenty of families kept using it into the 60s because it never went off, never cracked in the shopping bag, and cost less than fresh. The Ministry of Food had published entire pamphlets of dried egg recipes, and those tricks stayed in kitchens for a generation. The scrambled eggs were rubbery and the omelettes flat, but a cake made with dried egg was nearly indistinguishable from the real thing. An egg from a tin sounds like science fiction. It was breakfast. Number 19. Mock banana. This one sounds like a prank, and in a way it was, played on an entire generation. During the war, with bananas impossible to import, mothers boiled parsnips, mashed them smooth, and stirred in sugar and banana essence. Spread on bread, it was served to children as banana sandwiches, and thousands of them grew up believing this was what banana tasted like. When the first real bananas arrived back in 1945, some children reportedly refused them because they tasted wrong. The Ministry of Food promoted mock banana alongside mock cream, mock goose made of lentils, and mock crab made of scrambled egg and cheese, an entire cuisine of impersonation. The genius of it was psychological as much as culinary. A treat with a familiar name kept morale up when the real thing was on the other side of a submarine blockade. A root vegetable pretending to be a tropical fruit, and everyone politely agreed to believe it. Here is where things get properly strange. Because the next few entries were not wartime desperation, they were peacetime choices. Number 18. Junket. Milk deliberately curdled with rennet, the same enzyme from a calf's stomach used to make cheese, then eaten as a wobbly dessert. Junket had been eaten in Britain since medieval times, and in the 1950s it was still standard nursery food. Your nan would warm milk to blood heat, stir in a few drops of rennet essence from the chemist, add sugar and a splash of vanilla, and leave it to set into a soft, slippery curd. A grating of nutmeg on top, and it was pudding. The texture was somewhere between yogurt and jelly, cool and faintly sweet, and it was considered ideal for children and invalids because it was easy to digest. A bottle of rennet cost pennies and lasted a year. Deliberately curdled milk sounds like a food safety incident. For centuries, it was comfort itself, and Devon families ate it with clotted cream on top, because Devon. Number 17. Frog spawn, also known as tapioca pudding. Every British schoolchild of a certain era shudders at the name. Tapioca, small pearls of cassava starch, was simmered in sweetened milk until the pearls turned translucent and the whole dish took on the exact appearance of frog spawn floating in a pond. School dinners served it weekly, usually with a spoonful of jam dropped in the middle like a bullseye, and the ritual was to stir the jam through until the whole bowl turned pink. Its cousin, semolina, got the same treatment. Children complained, invented legends about where it came from, and ate every spoonful anyway because pudding was pudding. At home, a packet of tapioca cost about 8 pence and made dessert for 6, twice. A dish universally compared to amphibian eggs, served to children by the million for decades on purpose. And here is the twist. Bubble tea has made tapioca pearls fashionable again at £5 a cup. Your nan was drinking the trend 60 years early, minus the queue. Number 16. Pobs. Bread torn into chunks, soaked in warm milk and sprinkled with sugar. That is the entire recipe, and across the north of England it had its own name, its own ritual, and its own devoted following. Pobs, sometimes called sops in other regions, was what you got when you were poorly, when you were very young, when you were very old, or when it was cold and payday was Friday. Stale bread that would otherwise be wasted became a warm, soft, sweet bowl of comfort for the cost of a splash of milk. Some families added a knob of butter, some a spoonful of treacle. Medical wisdom of the day genuinely recommended it for convalescence. Wet bread in a bowl sounds like something you would feed a hedgehog. In a Lancashire terrace in 1955, it was love in edible form, and grown adults still make it in secret when they have the flu. Number 15. Sugar butties and condensed milk sandwiches. When there was nothing in the cupboard, there was always this. Butter spread thick on white bread, a generous layer of white granulated sugar scattered over it, folded and eaten while the sugar still crunched. The condensed milk version was even more indulgent, that thick, sweetened syrup from the Nestlé tin poured onto bread like golden glue. During rationing, when sweets were restricted until 1953, a sugar butty was the only confectionery many children knew, but the habit long outlived the ration book. Well into the 70s, a sugar sandwich was an ordinary after-school snack in working homes, costing next to nothing and delivering pure joy. Dentists of the era must have wept. Nobody asked them. A sandwich made of sugar sounds like a cartoon invention, but ask anyone over 60 from Liverpool or Glasgow, and watch their eyes go soft with memory. Number 14. The cheese and pineapple hedgehog. Take half a grapefruit, wrap it in tin foil and cover it with cocktail sticks, each one skewering a cube of cheddar and a chunk of tinned pineapple. Congratulations, you have made a hedgehog, and it was the undisputed centerpiece of every British party from roughly 1965 to 1985. No birthday, christening, or silver wedding buffet was complete without one, sitting proudly between the vol au vents and the sausage rolls. The combination itself, sweet tinned fruit against sharp cheese, was considered daringly continental. A tin of pineapple cost about 1.6, a block of cheddar a couple of shillings, and the result fed 30 people and looked like an animal. Food shaped like a hedgehog, served to adults at formal occasions, without irony. When people mock retro British food, this is Exhibit A. When British people remember their childhoods, this is also, quietly, Exhibit A. Second pattern break, and this is where the food industry enters the story. Because the 60s and 70s were the age of powdered, tinned and boil-in-the-bag wonders, and Britain embraced everyone. Number 13. The Blancmange rabbit. Blancmange itself, a sweet milk pudding set with corn flour, was ordinary enough. What sounds fake is what Britain did with it. Every household owned a rabbit-shaped mould, and for birthdays your mum would make pink blancmange, chill it until solid, and turn out a trembling pink rabbit onto a bed of green desiccated coconut, standing in for grass. The unmoulding was high drama. Get it wrong and the rabbit lost its ears, and the party was shadowed by tragedy. Get it right, and the wobbling creature took pride of place while children argued over who got the head. A packet of blancmange powder cost 6pence and came in pink, chocolate and a vanilla that tasted mostly of nostalgia. A pudding shaped like livestock wobbling on the table was the height of celebration. Woolworths sold the moulds by the thousand. Somewhere in your family there is a photo of one. Number 12. Angel Delight. A powder that became a mousse in 5 minutes flat and one of the most successful products Birds ever launched. It arrived in 1967, and by the mid-70s, 1 in 2 British households bought it regularly. You whisked the sachet into half a pint of cold milk, watched it thicken like magic, and spooned it into dishes where it set into something between a mousse and a memory of butterscotch. The flavours were butterscotch, strawberry, chocolate and banana, none of which tasted precisely of those things, and all of which tasted precisely of Angel Delight. At around 9pence, a sachet it made pudding for 4 in the time it took to lay the table. Dessert from a packet of dust sounds like astronaut food, and that was exactly the appeal in the space age. Here is the detail people forget. It is still on sale today, quietly, and sales spiked during lockdown. Britain never really let go. Number 11. The Vesta curry. Britain's first mass-market curry came in a cardboard box and was almost entirely dehydrated. Launched in 1961, a Vesta beef curry contained a packet of dried meat and sauce that you simmered with water and a packet of rice, producing something that resembled curry the way a photograph of the sea resembles swimming. It was also, for millions of British families, the single most exotic thing they had ever eaten. The Vesta chow mein, complete with crispy noodles you fried yourself, was considered dangerously adventurous. A box cost around 2 shillings and sixpence and fed 2. Food historians now credit Vesta with opening the door for Britain's curry house boom, training a cautious nation to accept spice one cardboard box at a time. A dried curry in a packet sounds like emergency rations. It was a Friday night event, eaten off trays in front of the television, and it changed the national palate forever. Number 10. Smash. Instant mashed potato, made famous by tin robots laughing at humans for peeling actual potatoes. Cadbury, yes, the chocolate company, launched Smash in the late 60s, and the 1974 Martians advert became one of the most celebrated British commercials ever made. You poured boiling water onto the pale granules, stirred, and got something fluffy, uniform, and unmistakably not quite potato. At its peak, Britain was buying tens of millions of packets a year, and plenty of children grew up preferring it to the real thing, to their mother's quiet despair. A packet cost about a shilling and made mash in 20 seconds, with no peeling, no boiling, no mashing, no lumps. Potato that comes as dust, made by a chocolate firm, advertised by aliens. Every part of that sentence sounds invented. Every part of it is true, and the granules are still on supermarket shelves right now. Number 9. Spam fritters. Take a slice of tinned pork luncheon meat, dip it in batter, and deep fry it until golden. Spam arrived from America during the war, when fresh meat was rationed to about 1 shilling and tuppence worth per person per week, and the fritter was Britain's way of turning a pink tinned brick into something crisp and celebratory. It stayed on school dinner menus and chip shop boards for decades after, long past any necessity. The crunch of the batter against the salty, soft meat was genuinely good, whatever anyone says now, and a fritter from the Chippy cost a few pence into the 70s. Margaret Thatcher once described herself as a spam hoarder in her youth. Battered tinned meat sounds like a dare. It fed a nation through its darkest years and then stuck around because, whisper it, people actually liked it. Some chip shops in the north still fry them, and the queues have started coming back. Number 8. Sandwich spread. Heinz sandwich spread was a pale yellow paste of chopped vegetables suspended in salad cream, and an entire generation described it the same way, so this list will be polite and say it resembled something a cat might leave on the carpet. It did not matter. Launched in Britain in the 1960s, it sold millions of jars a year through the 70s and 80s. The tangy crunch of pickled vegetable against creamy dressing spread thick on white bread was a lunchbox standard. Children who claimed to hate it ate it anyway, and adults kept a jar in the fridge door as insurance against an empty larder. A jar cost about 1.9 and made a week of sandwiches. A spread famous mainly for looking like sick, bought by the tanker load, is exactly the kind of food that sounds like a fabricated national in joke. Britain would like you to know it was delicious and will hear no further questions. Number 7. Chippy scraps. Free food given away by the scoop, made of nothing. Scraps, called bits in some towns and scrumps in others, were the loose shards of batter that broke off the fish in the fryer, crisp golden fragments of pure deep-fried flour and water. Ask at any northern chip shop and they would shovel a pile onto your chips for free or charge a penny for a whole bag. For children with no money, a bag of scraps was the whole point of Friday. The batter soaked up salt and vinegar like a sponge and shattered between your teeth. An entire regional food culture built on frying debris sounds like satire about northern poverty, and southerners often refuse to believe scraps exist until they see them. They exist, they are glorious, and the great injustice of modern Britain is that some chip shops now have the nerve to charge 50 pence for what was once a child's free treasure. Number 6. Jellied eels. Eels, chopped into rounds, boiled and left to cool in their own liquor until it set into a savoury grey jelly around them. Eaten cold, with vinegar and white pepper, from a bowl, standing up. To anyone outside East London, this sounds like a punishment from a folktale, but into the 1960s there were still around 100 eel and pie shops in the capital, with tiled walls and marble counters, serving working families who regarded jellied eels as an absolute treat. Eels were cheap and astonishingly abundant in the Thames estuary, costing a few pence a portion, and the natural gelatine in the fish set the liquor without any help. Stalls sold them outside pubs and football grounds every Saturday. Cold fish in grey jelly was date night food, match day food, payday food. A handful of shops, like Manze's, still serve them today, and EastEnders of a certain age still queue. Number 5. Laverbread. Seaweed for breakfast, called bread, containing no bread. Welsh families gathered laver from the rocks of the Gower coast, boiled it for hours into a dark green puree, rolled it in oatmeal, and fried it in bacon fat alongside eggs and cockles. Miners in the valleys ate it before dawn shifts, and Richard Burton famously called it Welshman's caviar. In the 1950s, you bought it by the quarter pound from market stalls in Swansea, wrapped in paper for a few pence. It tasted of iron, salt, and the sea, and it was packed with iodine and protein, which is why it fueled men who spent 10 hours underground. Boiled seaweed sludge as a fry-up component sounds like an invention designed to mock Welsh cuisine. It is actually one of Britain's oldest foods, now sold in delicatessens at prices that would make a Swansea market trader of 1955 laugh until he cried. Number 4. Cow heel pie. A pie whose defining ingredient was the foot of a cow. Across Lancashire, cow heels sold at tripe shops and butchers for pennies, and hours of slow simmering turned the cartilage and connective tissue into meat of astonishing silkiness, with a gravy so rich in natural gelatine it set solid when cold. Baked under a pastry lid, often with shin beef, cow heel pie was a Wigan and Bolton institution, hearty enough to fuel a week of mill shifts. Mothers swore the gelatine was good for growing bones, and modern science amusingly agrees, since bone broth and collagen now sell in health food shops at £20 a jar for essentially the same thing. A pie made of feet sounds medieval. It was on northern tables within living memory, and the few bakeries that still make it have customers who drive 50 miles. Your great-grandmother's penny supper is now a wellness trend with a marketing budget. One more pattern break before the top 3, because everything so far has at least resembled food. The final entries require you to trust me. Number 3. Savory ducks. Contains no duck. Never contained duck. Savory ducks, known in the south as faggots, were balls of minced pig's offal, liver, heart and belly, bound with breadcrumbs, wrapped in lacy caul fat, and baked in rich onion gravy. Every butcher in the Black Country and the North made their own, and Friday was faggot day, with queues out the door for a supper that cost a few pence and fed a family with mushy peas and mash. The name alone sounds like a joke played on foreigners, and the ingredient list reads like a dare, but these were beloved, genuinely delicious, and the pride of entire towns. Mr. Brain's faggots in tins kept the tradition limping along into the frozen food era. A ball of organs named after a bird it does not contain, queued for weekly by sensible adults. Completely normal. Deliciously normal. Ask anyone from Dudley. Number 2. Elder. Not the berry, not the tree. Elder was cow's udder, boiled for hours, pressed flat under weights, and sold in pale sliced pieces at tripe shops across Lancashire and Yorkshire, where it was eaten cold with salt and vinegar like ham. Read that sentence again. Pressed udder, sliced like luncheon meat, was a routine item at northern tripe stalls into the 1950s and 60s, sitting in the counter beside honeycomb tripe, cow heel, and pig's trotters. It cost next to nothing, tasted mild and faintly milky, and provided cheap protein for families who could not waste a single part of any animal. Older generations remember it without a flicker of embarrassment, because when you have known real hunger, squeamishness is a luxury. Of everything on this list, elder is the entry people most often refuse to believe existed. It existed. It was normal. There are people alive today who ate it for their tea. And number 1, the toast sandwich, 2 slices of buttered bread. The filling, a slice of toast, salt and pepper to taste. This is not a joke, not a meme, and not a student invention. It appears in Mrs. Beeton's Book of Household Management, published in 1861, the most influential cookbook in British history, recommended as suitable nourishment for invalids. Bread filled with bread, seasoned. The logic was sound for its time. It was cheap, filling, easy to digest, and the toast gave texture that plain bread lacked. And here is the ending nobody expects. In 2011, the Royal Society of Chemistry formally revived the toast sandwich, calculated it as the cheapest lunch in Britain at 7.5 pence, and offered £200 to anyone who could find a cheaper one. Nobody could. The most fake-sounding food in British history is real, documented, scientifically endorsed, and 160 years old. Britain, from the very beginning, was built different. So there they are, 25 foods that sound like fiction and were simply dinner. Here is my challenge. Pick one and try it this week. A sugar butty, a bowl of Pobs, even the toast sandwich, all 7.5 pence of it. Then get in the comments and defend your family's strangest one, because someone's nan ate elder, and I want to hear from them. If this brought back memories, subscribe, because next week we are going even deeper into the foods Britain has tried to forget. Your nan knew, now you do too.